Welcome to a short video summary of the LG OLED 65 E6 Ultra HD 4K TV. You can read the full in-depth review via the link in the description or by clicking the info button at the top right of the screen. The E6 sits in the mid-tier of LG's new OLED range 2016, just below the flagship G6 and above the entry-level B6 and C6. The 65 E6 retails for £4,999, although you can also buy a 55-inch model that will retail for £3,499. What do you get in terms of features on the E6? Well, first of all, obviously you get Ultra HD 4K support. You also get support for HDR, for high dynamic range. Specifically, you get support for HDR10 and also Dolby Vision. There's also support for passive 3D, as well as a built-in soundbar and LG's latest version of their WebOS smart platform. In terms of the look of the E6, I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous piece of industrial design. It uses what LG call their picture-on-glass design, which means that the OLED panel is actually attached to a rear glass panel, and it is genuinely striking and incredibly thin. Almost all the way down the entire panel, it's incredibly thin. It widens out a little bit at the bottom where the electronics are housed, but basically it is a truly slim, ultra slim, incredibly striking looking TV. I mean, even before you turn it on. At the bottom, there's the built-in soundbar itself, and also a base that you can stand the TV on to stand it upright, although that base can be removed, and then you can wall mount the TV if you want to. The connections are built into the soundbar base, and there's a decent set of connections, including, crucially, 4 HDMI 2.0A inputs, which means that the TV is future-proof in terms of the fact it can accept Ultra HD input, HDR, and HDCP 2.2. My only complaint would be that these HDMI inputs and also some of the other inputs are too close to the edge of the television, which means that if you've got a cable connected, you could possibly see it poking out the side. That would be my only complaint. Other than that, though, I think it's a genuinely striking and gorgeous piece of design. In terms of accessories, the E6 comes with 2 remote controls. The first is the latest version of the Magic Remote. It's still a motion controller as it was previously, but it's had a redesign, a makeover basically. It's now slimmer, longer, and a bit more stylish basically. It certainly looks very attractive. It's nicely designed, it's comfortable to hold. It's very intuitive to use. It makes navigating the smart platform and the menu system extremely easy, and all the buttons are well laid out. The central section where you've got both the home button and the navigation controls are all nice and central. Everything you need is easy access with one hand. It makes controlling the TV extremely easy. It's a great controller. Really like the design of this remote control. However, if for some reason you don't want to use this controller, it also comes with a smaller remote control, a stripped down basic version with on and off and sort of volume, mute, program change and accessing the smart platform. So there is this easy, smaller controller, stripped down version if you want to, but personally I think I'd rather use the really classy, stylish remote control. I think it looks really good. In terms of other accessories, the TV comes with 2 pairs of passive glasses, passive 3D glasses, but interestingly the polarized filter that these glasses use is identical to the one used by Real D when you go to the cinema. So if you've been to the cinema recently and watched a Real D movie with passive polarized filters, you'll find that those glasses also work on this TV. In terms of the menu system on the E6, it's essentially the same as last year, and we really like LG's menu system. It's simply laid out, it's easy to follow, it's intuitive to use, and it gives you all the controls that you'll need. In terms of our recommended picture settings for the E6, you'll find all of those in a separate video where we give you recommended settings for day, night, HDR, and for Dolby Vision. As far as the WebOS smart platform goes, this year's iteration is very similar to last year's. I guess the idea is if it ain't broke, why fix it? WebOS has been incredibly influential. It's been a real game changer in terms of the approach towards smart platforms, making it more integrated into the TV itself, less of a separate system and more something that's just part of the TV with everything being treated as an app. And the idea of a launcher bar on the bottom, that's been copied by quite a few manufacturers since then, but I think LG's platform, which was the first, remains the best. And I guess for that reason they haven't really changed very much. There have been some minor changes this year, some minor additions that have been made, and we'll cover that in more detail in a separate video for the WebOS smart platform as well. As usual, we tested the E6 using our sophisticated calibration equipment, which includes the Klein K10A color meter, the Meridio Fresco 6G pattern generator, and the Calman calibration software. The out-of-the-box grayscale was excellent, with all the colours tracking closely to each other, aside from a slight excess of green in the brighter part of the image. The errors were all below 3 and most were below 2, with the gamma tracking our target of 2.4. We could improve this performance even further thanks to the inclusion of a 2 and a 20-point white balance control, resulting in a reference grayscale and gamma performance. The out-of-the-box colour accuracy was also very good, with all the colours tracking their targets closely. After calibrating the grayscale, we were able to fine-tune the performance using the colour management system, and the overall image accuracy was excellent with standard dynamic range. When it came to high dynamic range, the E6 is certified as Ultra HD Premium by the UHD Alliance. This means it can deliver a peak brightness of at least 540 nits, although in testing it delivered nearly 640 nits. It also has a 10-bit panel and can produce at least 90% of DCI-P3, and in testing we measured the native colour gamut at 96% of DCI-P3. The E6 tracked the PQEOTF very well, but it did clip some HDR10 content, and the colour tracking against Rec 2020 could have been better. In terms of its picture quality, the E6 was a fantastic performer, particularly with standard dynamic range content. Regardless of whether that was standard definition or high definition, it delivered really detailed, lovely looking images with deep blacks, plenty of shadow detail, plenty of brightness, great dynamic range. It had wonderful video processing, really great motion handling. I mean, it really was a fantastic performer. Pictures looked absolutely stunning. In terms of 3D content, stellar performer, really good 3D. You got, because it's passive, there's absolutely no flicker, there was absolutely no crosstalk, bright, the images were detailed, 1080p to each eye, loads of lovely depth in the image. It really was fantastic 3D. So if you're still a fan of 3D, the E6 will definitely please you there. In terms of HDR content, it was good, but perhaps not quite as good as some of the best performers we've seen so far this year, because it just didn't have that really high peak brightness to give images that punchy, bright look. And they didn't have quite the same impact. I mean, yes, the blacks were good, there was some good shadow detail, and the wider colour space was there, 10-bit processing, but I felt that it just wasn't quite the same as some of the better LCD TVs when it came to the overall brightness of the image and particularly the specular highlights. It was still good, but not quite as good as some of the competition. Having said that, the LG's 65E6 is an absolutely fantastic television. It looks gorgeous. It's got feature-packed, it's got WebOS, it's got great remote control, it's got passive 3D, it's got HDR10, and it's got Dolby Vision support as well. I mean, in terms of the features, performance, and even the price, I mean, it might seem like a lot of money, but considering what you're getting, I think it's really good value. So overall, it's absolutely deserving of an AV Forum's highly recommended badge. Thanks for watching.